Discovery, and especially to Tony.
And good morning, Houston. Thanks for that great song. I'd like to say thanks to my family, Janine, Michael, and Danny. And I know we got a long day, so I guess we should get right to work.
Discovery Houston for OBSS on berth. We're ready for that whenever you are.
Okay, great, Zambo. You're reading our minds. We're just getting ready to start putting OBSS on berth in work.
Sounds great. We'll be watching.
This is a view in the payload bay of the Space Shuttle Discovery. A look at the, as you can see, the arm in view at the right. This is sequential still video, so you may detect some choppy motions, but again, a look as they're just beginning to commence with the unberthing of the orbiter boom sensor system, which is to the left of this view. It's in its stowed position on the sill of the payload bay. It's a 50-foot extension that will be used at the end of this robotic arm to enable them to get some detailed looks at the various surfaces of the space shuttle.
Discovery for Brew, referencing those, I got 4 procedures there, and your go for all of them at this time.
Sounds great. I'll put them in working order.
Roger.
You're listening in as the Discovery crew reporting down. They are commencing now with the starboard wing survey. That's using a laser dynamic range imager, or LDRI, at the end of the boom system. It's comprised of an infrared laser illuminator and an infrared camera receiver. It's used to provide 2- or 3-dimensional video imagery data. All of the imagery from today will be downlinked for analysis by specialists here at on the ground at the Johnson Space Center.
Houston, Discovery for EVA.
Discovery Houston, go ahead for EVA, Koichi.
Yeah, Zambo, we completed the step up to step 63 of the EMU checkout. And in the step 53, there's a check action of EMU input amps on panel AW18 Hotel. And the numbers that we saw on the panel for the input amps was 5.0 at the off-scale high position of the meter. And later on in the step 57, the same panel indicator for the EMU input amps showed correct numbers at around 3.3. But we just wanted to report that step 53, the input amps numbers were off-scale high and at 5.0.
Discovery Houston for EVA. Koichi, thanks for that report. That performance is expected, and that is because you are installing the SCOF and putting in some speed control, so you can expect those amps to decrease between steps 5.3 and 5.7.
Copy that, Zambo. Thank you, and we're going to proceed on to step 64 at this time.
Okay, we copy you complete through step 6.3 and into step 6.4.
That was an update from Japanese astronaut Koichi Wakata as he's working through the continued checkout activities of the U.S. spacesuits. The activity is continuing well as we're in the late morning of the crew day for the Discovery crew, now in their first full day in space. They have 19 hours, 21 minutes mission elapsed time for this 119 mission after the successful launch yesterday evening from Kennedy Space Center. All of the activities going smoothly, and as you're watching, they're continuing with the survey activities. They've just begun the first of 3 areas that they'll be inspecting over the next several hours. This is a look at the starboard wing survey. They'll then move on to the nose cap, which will take just about an hour, and then all of the crew members will break for a midday meal before moving on to the afternoon activities, which will continue with the survey, this time on the left or port side of the orbiter, and then the continued preparations to transfer the spacesuits over to the space station.
Discovery, we like your view. You can proceed.
It'll work.
While most of the crew's day has been taken up with this heat shield inspection, mission specialists Steve Swanson and Ricky Arnold spent a good chunk of their day checking out spacesuits that they will be wearing during the mission's 3 spacewalks. Swanson and Arnold will perform the first spacewalk on Thursday. That's 2 days after docking, rather than one, is sometimes scheduled to allow plenty of time to get the S6 truss segment out of the shuttle's cargo bay. Installation of S6 is the primary test for the first spacewalk, so obviously it's important that it be ready to go when the spacewalk starts. But it's going to take some maneuvering to get it there. The job actually calls for both the station and shuttle's robotic arm to get involved. Because of the clearance issues, the shuttle arm can't lift the segment out of the cargo bay on its own, so the station arm has to get it out, but the station arm is going to have to reach just about as far as it possibly can to get the S6 into place at the end of the starboard truss. And that means it has to move to the end of the rail system that it travels along on the station's truss. And it can't do that while it's carrying the S6 segment, so once it unpacks the segment, driven by mission specialist John Phillips and flight engineer Sandy Magnus, it's going to hand the segment off to the shuttle robotic arm with pilot Tony Antonelli and mission specialist Joe Acava at the helm. Then the shuttle arm will hold onto it while the station arm makes its way to the end of the starboard side of the truss on top of its mobile transporter. And when it gets there, the shuttle arm will then hand it back over, leaving it ready for installation on Thursday. That process is going to take several hours, so Flight Day 4 has been pretty much devoted to it rather than trying to get the segment unberthed in time for a Flight Day 4 spacewalk. After all that work, Swanson and Arnold will spend almost all of the first spacewalk installing the segment and getting it ready for use. The segment, of course, contains the last 2 solar arrays for the station, completing its power generation capability. That spacewalk will be Swanson's 3rd. He's the lead and only veteran spacewalker on the mission and has performed 2 previous spacewalks during his first mission, STS-119 in 2007. It will be Arnold's first spacewalk. He was scheduled to perform a total of 3 during the mission, but because Discovery's mission was shortened a few days when its launch was delayed, that put it up against an upcoming Soyuz launch. So one of the 3 spacewalks was removed from the timeline to allow Discovery to undock from the station before the Soyuz gets there. There's still a total of 3 spacewalks on the mission, however. The second will be performed by Swanson and mission specialist Joe Acaba on Saturday. And then the 3rd will team up Arnold and Acaba a week from today. Content of the mission's 3rd spacewalk won't change much from what was planned before the launch delay, but the 2nd spacewalk will change just a bit. The flight controllers here on the ground are looking at exactly what that plan will be. The intent is to take some of the high priority items from what had been planned to be the 4th spacewalk of the mission and move them to the 2nd spacewalk to be sure that they get done before Discovery has to undock. View here of the orbiter boom sensor system still attached to the shuttle's robotic arm. You can see there on the end some of the systems that the crew's been using for today's inspection. Those systems include the laser dynamic range imager that provides 3D views of the areas that are being surveyed. And that's what provides the black and white flickering images you see during the inspection. System works by capturing sequences of video frames in 2 dimensions that can be used to create 3-dimensional images. There's also on the end there a laser camera system which creates files that can be used to build 3D computer models, and an intensified television camera that pilot Tony Antonelli and mission specialist Koichi Wakata currently carefully lowering that boom into its latches on the shuttle's payload bay seal.
Satellite camera installs going in work. And Ricky's going to hold off on the OMS pictures until we're done busting the arm. So the OBSS.
Copy and concur.
Good view here of the orbiter boom sensor system coming in for berthing in its latches along the sill of the shuttle's cargo bay. Closer look here at some of the systems that the shuttle crew has been using to survey the wing leading edges and nose cap. As pilot Tony Antonelli and mission specialist Koichi Wakata carefully inched the orbiter boom sensor system back into its latches. Pilot Tony Antonelli and mission specialist Koichi Wakata now moving the robotic arm into what's called the pre-cradle position, getting it into a safe configuration for tomorrow's docking with the International Space Station. View here from cameras inside the shuttle's cargo bay, looking towards the now extended orbiter docking system ring. That'll be the first part of the shuttle to come into contact with the International Space Station tomorrow. That's the silver object kind of sticking up in the middle of the view, and just to the right of it is a window looking in on the flight deck of Space Shuttle Discovery. Every now and then you can see some of the crew members float by. That's or just behind that window is where the robotics workstation is. Window allows the crew members operating the shuttle's robotic arm to have a good view of what they're doing inside the shuttle's cargo bay.
And Houston, here comes flight day highlights. And we have some news. This is Ricky, and this is post-MECO yesterday, down on the mid-deck. And you should see an image of John and Koichi just after we unstrapped.
Thanks a lot.
From there, I took the camera on up to the flight deck and had a look at the guys there, and there was smiles all around.
That's awesome.
There you have me my first couple of minutes, just trying to get out of my seat and get used to things. And here we have Mr. Antonelli. Ricky managed to capture my best side, and then finally I turned around and looked at the camera. We were a little bit busy getting through the checklist. It seemed to happen a little bit faster up here than it does in the sim. And here's the boss. Yeah, everyone did just great on their first day in orbit here, and we couldn't have been happier with the way everyone felt and how good we jumped into the post-insertion. It really went well. Okay, and here we are during the G-suit process. There's a lot going on in the mid-deck. We had a real peaceful ride uphill, and then we leap into action, and the bags are flying around, and we're unsuiting people and stowing the seats and turning our rocket ship into an orbiter. Okay, here you see the OMS burn start. And in a few seconds, and we're changing the, this is the OMS burn, and it was like as if I was in an earthquake in Tokyo. And here we are in the flight deck. Swanee and Joe are working on. All right, then we were opening up the payload bay doors. I hope you get to see a little picture of the first bit of sunlight we saw coming through the aft window there. It's the starboard door opening up right now. A little tough to see with it being so bright outside. It was very bright sun and dark inside. It's a great view, though, to see the air from that side. Saw the RCS jet firing on that there, and we're back to the commander.
We were real happy to be able to do this. I exchanged name tags for Tony. Took his naval aviator wings and replaced them with naval astronaut aviator wings. So it was really, I was really honored to be able to do that little presentation for Tony. All right, it ended up being a long first day. We got through everything, but we got out of our suits and changed and just finishing up the last things we need to do before we get to bed on the first day. Keeping track of the timeline. As I said before, I couldn't have been happier with the way everyone responded after we got to orbit. Those first 4 or 5 hours are very busy, and actually it looks like now we've got the SC-1 burn lighting up at this point. So nice shot out the back window.
If you look closely, you can see the tail start to glow red there. And we're putting up some computers. Got to get the network going. That keeps us running. And you can lose things very easily.
Tony and I are getting ready here to get the arm powered up and in config. We had a long day today, so last night, toward the end of our day, just checking it out, making sure everything's working properly. It was really nice to get our hands finally on that robotic arm, and it behaved just as advertised.
That's a great shot there. First thing in the morning, hair's looking good, but before we go to sleep, we power a lot of things down. So first thing in the morning was getting the cameras up and running and getting ready for the long survey that we had today. So it was get up and right back to work again. Just working on some of the computers this morning, getting them all running again too. They all went fine. They're working great. I'm glad. We're really happy that they are. Thanks to all the folks helping us out there.
And here's a team of 3 happily assembling the ergometer. It's a kind of bicycle we use on the middeck to keep everybody in shape. And it's quite a piece of work to put together. Okay, well, Joe got the cameras up, Swanee got the computers up, and then we use all the network and the cameras, the robotic arm and the boom, and we do our Flight Day 2 inspection. Of course, we were busy today doing the Flight Day 2 inspection, but all that data gets sent down to the ground, and I know there's another big part of the team that'll be down there staying up late tonight analyzing that data, and we sure do appreciate all the work that they put into the whole effort of this.
Okay, here we are. Swanee and I are working on the, together with Ricky, we're working on the EMU checkout in preparation for the spacewalks for this flight. Yeah, there's not a up or down in space, but there is a forward and back, as you notice here with the comm caps. We went through that. Everything got done well. The suits are good for, and we're all ready for the spacewalks.
Swanee just saved me for putting my comm cap on backwards, and I certainly appreciate it. This is a great opportunity for us to check out and see how the suits were doing, and if we were able to talk to Houston.
Okay, here's some more video. We talked about the day was upstairs was spent with the robotic arm survey. You can see on the right part of the view the robotic arm all the way to the upper right, and then across from the upper right to the middle left is the boom, and then you could see into the payload bay and see the S6
advise the SX Trust we actually have some other scientific payloads on board, and this is one called vaccine, and I'm activating, it's a biological experiment involving salmonella, and I am about to activate one of the canisters. And I don't know who this guy is.
Here we are in the flight deck, Tony and I and Joe, and also Brewer, we worked, and also John helped on the computers, but they worked on the RMS work for the Flight Day 2 inspection. And here Brew is looking at the clearance. We have pretty good view from all the windows of the shuttle's cockpit, and he was helping us with the clearance monitoring during the Flight Day 2 inspection.
Yeah, one thing's kind of nice that we don't get, of course, get a chance to train in the sim is what those, particularly those out-the-window views can do for you, the forward window. So those come in very handy, and they bridge a gap of a lot of clearances that you don't necessarily see when you train in the simulator. That was my thinking pose there, and we do have a couple of scientific payload experiments that we're doing, so a couple of questionnaires that we have to fill out, and I'll pass back to Koichi.
Okay, Tony on berth the boom, and here, and Tony and I are working to berth the OBSS on the starboard side of the orbiter.
We thought Koichi was getting ready to berth that boom, but he had a couple more views of the survey. And here's Koichi and Tony working together near the end of the survey. Survey's over, and now they're getting ready to put that boom to bed for the night. And Koichi just did a spectacular job, assisted by Tony there. They knocked it down real quickly.
Yeah, Ricky and I are working on the APDS system. That's a docking system we have on. We're getting it all ready for tomorrow's rendezvous.
I think Brew is focusing in here on the docking ring that we powered up and extended and to get it in position for docking tomorrow, and then we went ahead and powered it down, and we'll bring it back up tomorrow. Looking forward to catching up with Mike and Sandy and Yuri tomorrow. That's some pretty riveting scenes there, the docking ring. And this here's your neighborhood Kojak with a Kodak. I'm testing out the handheld laser rangefinder that we used during rendezvous to show range and closure rate, and it's a lot like a police radar. And we're just checking it out by aiming it at the tail of the vehicle and making sure we're getting good readings.
And the mid-deck side have been conducting some of the experiments. This is called Dome Gene, life science experiment of cell culture growth.
Okay, near the end of the day, one of the last things we did today was perform that NC tree burn, which was just using the RCS jets. Tony and myself knocked that out, and here's Tony running the checklist procedures for me, and also getting a gorgeous shot. That picture doesn't do it justice to what the sunrise was that you saw through Tony's window. You can tell a lot of the hand-eye coordination that goes into this burn really hit the numbers right on the money. And that's it. Thanks for gutting it out, Houston. We appreciate it, and we know the families do appreciate seeing these. So we appreciate you taking the time to allow us to send these down to you.
crew. That was a fantastic collection of video. We really, really enjoyed it.